Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatar. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shakalila. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande Shri Harinam Mahamantra Ki Jai. There's something in that mantra. Haven't quite figured it out what it is yet though. But you could have gone on for another few hours, right? It was starting to get interesting. Wasn't it? Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Thank you. We're looking at the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 7th chapter, verse number 21, 7-7-21. And this is what Prahlad learned within the womb of his mother. Swarnam Yata Gravasu Hemakara Swarnam Yata Gravasu Hemakara Kshetreshu Yogais Tadabhignya apnuyad. Kshetreshu yogaistadabhignya apnuyad. Kshetreshu deheshu tatatma yogar. Kshetreshu deheshu tatatma yogar. Adhyatma vid brahmagatim labheta. Adhyatma vid brahmagatim labheta. Swarnam yata grava suhemakara. Kshetreshu yogaistadabhigna apnuyad. Kshetreshu deheshu tatatma yogar. Adhyatma vid brahmagatim labheta. Swarnam yata grava suhemakara. Kshetreshu yogaistadabhignya apnuyad. Kshetreshu deheshu tatatma yogar. Adhyatma vid brahmagatim labheta. Somebody else like to chant? Swarnam yata grava suhemakara. Kshetreshu yogaistadabhignya apnuyad. Kshetreshu deheshu tatatma yogar. Adhyatma vid brahmagatim labheta. Swarnam yata grava suhemakara. Kshetreshu yogaistadabhigna apnuyad. Kshetreshu deheshu tatatma yogar. Adhyatma vid brahmagatim labheta. Swarnam yata grava suhemakara. Kshetreshu yogaistadabhignya apnuyad. Kshetreshu deheshu tatatma yogar. Adhyatma vid brahmagatim labheta. Now we'll do the word for word. Swarnam, gold. Yata, just as. Gravasu, in the stones of gold ore. Hemakaraha, the expert who knows about gold. Kshetreshu, in the gold mines. Yogai, by various processes. Tadabhignya, an expert who can understand where gold is. Apnuyad, very easily obtains. Kshetreshu, within the material fields. Deheshu, the human bodies and all the rest of the 8,400,000 different bodily forms. Tata, similarly. Atma yogai, by spiritual processes. Adhyatmavit, one who is expert in understanding the distinction between spirit and matter. Brahmagatim, perfection in spiritual life. Labheta, may obtain. Translation, an expert geologist can understand where there is gold and by various processes can extract it from the gold ore. Similarly, a spiritually advanced person can understand how the spiritual particle exists within the body, and thus by cultivating spiritual knowledge, he can attain perfection in spiritual life. However, as one who is not expert cannot understand where there is gold, a foolish person who has not cultivated spiritual knowledge cannot understand how the spirit exists within the body. So we say it together? An expert geologist can understand where there is gold and by various processes can extract it from the gold ore. Similarly, a spiritually advanced person can understand how the spiritual particle exists within the body, and thus by cultivating spiritual knowledge, he can attain perfection in spiritual life. However, as one who is not expert cannot understand where there is gold, a foolish person who has not cultivated spiritual knowledge cannot understand how the spirit exists within the body. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Here is a very good example concerning spiritual understanding. Foolish rascals, including so-called gyanis, philosophers, and scientists, cannot understand the existence of the soul within the body because they are lacking in spiritual knowledge. The Vedas enjoin tadvignanartam sagurum ivabhigachet. To understand spiritual knowledge, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Unless one has been trained in geology, one cannot detect gold in stone. Similarly, unless one has been trained by a spiritual master, he cannot understand what is spirit and what is matter. Here it is said, yogais tadabhignaha. This indicates that one who has connected himself with spiritual knowledge can understand that there is a spiritual soul within the body. However, one who is in an animalistic conception of life and has no spiritual culture cannot understand. As an expert mineralogist or geologist can understand where there is gold and can then invest his money to dig there and chemically separate the gold from the ore, an expert spiritualist can understand where the soul is within matter. One who has not been trained cannot distinguish between gold and stone. Similarly, fools and rascals who have not learned from an expert spiritual master what is soul and what is matter cannot understand the existence of the soul within the body. To understand such knowledge, one must be trained in the mystic yoga system, or finally in the bhakti yoga system. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1855, Bhaktyamam abhijanati, unless one takes shelter of the bhakti yoga process, one cannot understand the existence of the soul within the body. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita begins by teaching, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaran yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir tiras tatra nahuhyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2:13. Thus, the first instruction is that one should understand that the soul is within the body and is transmigrating from one body to another. This is the beginning of spiritual knowledge. Any person who is not expert in understanding this science or is unwilling to understand it, any person who is not expert in understanding this science or is unwilling to understand it remains in the bodily conception of life or the animalistic conception of life, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yasyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke saeva gotkaraha. Every member of human society should clearly understand the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, for only in this way can one be spiritually elevated and automatically give up the false illusory knowledge by which one thinks, I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine, aham mameti. This doggish conception should be rejected immediately. One should be prepared to understand the spirit soul and the Supreme Spirit, God, who are eternally related. Thus one may return home, back to Godhead, having solved all the problems of life. This is ending on a very nice note. Having solved all the problems of life. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, Krishna describes how a person who is trained in knowledge can see how the soul exists in the body and how he leaves the body to take another body. But he says that someone whose eyes haven't been trained in knowledge can't see this. And jnana chakshusha is the phrase Krishna uses, that the person's eyes are trained in knowledge. So here's a very striking and practical analogy that Prahlad Maharaj is giving us, that a geologist can, through studying the earth and its various patterns and formations, understand where there are certain kinds of minerals and wealth within the earth. In fact, companies hire such people who have studied geology to go out and search for oil and so forth. And they can tell where to dig and where not to dig. They can say, make your investment here, don't make it there, because you waste your time and money. So they make a calculation. They're not always exactly right, but high enough percentage of the time, because they're trained to know where the mineral formations are. Because of previous experience, they know these things. So Prabhupada used the word investment. They know where to invest. So this material world, Prabhupada describes elsewhere, is a bad bargain for the spiritual soul who really wants something else but is getting substandard happiness in this material world. We are stranded in a desert and we need oceans of water, but we get only one little drop, and that's not enough. Elsewhere, Prabhupada describes the material world as a colossal hoax. So that's a pretty bold statement. A colossal hoax. It means that you're really getting ripped off here, and there's not much of an investment at all. And people are investing everywhere. In fact, every living entity is a little investor, going around looking to see where can I put my money. Everyone wants a chip in the big game and try to get something for themselves. In fact, the Srimad Bhagavatam describes the material world to be the forest of material enjoyment. And the living entity comes here as a merchant, and he thinks, let me get my wealth here in the material world. But he gets lost in the forest. And while he's lost in the forest, he's harassed by many living entities who are envious of him and who disturb him in all different ways. There's gnats and mosquitoes and crickets and so forth, and other envious animals in the forest who try to devour him. And he really doesn't get anything for his investment in the material world. So when one comes to knowledge, he knows exactly where to invest. And this is the point of culturing knowledge, getting an understanding of where my real investment is. Find out where to invest. And then put your whole heart into it. Otherwise, one may make the wrong investment, or if one isn't fully convinced about the difference between the body and the soul, and that my real wealth in life isn't to be found in this material world, one may dabble in spiritual life, but not take it fully to heart. But one who is fully convinced that there's nothing to be had in this material world, there's no investment here. It's a rip-off. Nam vina kichu nahi ko oro chauda bhuvana maje. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there's nothing to be had in this 14 worlds except the holy name. What if one was actually convinced of that? There's nothing to be had here in all the worlds except for the holy name. Then one would change one's pattern of behavior in order to invest fully in the holy name. Now there's some place, according to the Shastra, where you can dig and actually get something. And that process is given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Krishna himself, that process of chanting Hare Krishna, investing in the holy name. In fact, some people who apparently have nothing else in this world are completely satisfied with the holy name, or they have everything in this world, and then when they have a taste and understand that their real investment is in the holy name, they give up everything else. This is described by Srinivasacharya in regard to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Tyaktvaturnam shesha mandalapati shrenim sadat tuchavat. Tuchavat means they considered the material world insignificant. No investment here, nothing more to be had. And they gave up what everyone else wanted. That is, Turnamashesha Mandalapati. Mandalapati means they were in the center, they were the center of attention, that's one thing. And they had all the wealth in the world. They had opulence and power. But they considered it tuchavat, insignificant. And they gave it up for the sake of following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and taking to the process of devotional service. And so, as investors, we have to be astute. Otherwise, we'll put our money in the wrong place. We'll put our energy in the wrong place. We all have a certain amount of energy to invest in this lifetime. A certain number of minutes and seconds and hours and days and weeks that are given to us. And then it's our responsibility, especially in the human life. We're given a great responsibility. Just like if a father gives his son some money and says, okay, now make something of this. You make something of this and you come back and then you can get more. Or he gives it and then it's squandered, and then how much more will he get? So the spiritual practice is very serious. One of the reasons we practice the regulative principles is so that we can be responsible for the investment that we're making. If you went to your investment advisor and asked him how you were doing this year, and he said, oh, I don't know, I haven't done your thing yet, even though it's past the time. Why haven't you done it? I was intoxicated. I had a little too much to drink, and I couldn't get around to looking at your portfolio or doing your taxes or anything like that. You wouldn't invest with him anymore. So similarly, we're given a certain responsibility to invest our own time and energy. And if we become intoxicated by material life, or literally intoxicated and become whimsical with our time, then we're not given much more to invest. And the more that we do responsibly invest every second. In fact, this is one of the symptoms of someone who's becoming spiritually minded or advanced spiritually, is that he or she is eager to invest every second. The more I see units of time as important investments, and the more I become greedy to invest every second, this is a symptom of spiritual advancement. I understand what's at stake. I understand the responsibility that's been given to me, that I've been handed this capital, which is time, and the facility to invest it. And then if I squander it, or if I leave it on the sideline, I don't put it into the investment that I should, then I'm irresponsible, and I'm not given more. So being an astute investor, one has to train oneself and become convinced where the real investment is. And also interesting in this analogy is that he's pointing out a person whose eyes are trained in knowledge knows how to see the spiritual essence in every body. And we looked up the other day the word tabernacle, and in it says a moving church in which is contained the spiritual essence. So living entity is an essence of spirit. And it's the most valuable thing in this world. And a person whose eyes are trained in knowledge actually sees that spiritual essence within every living entity, and also understands the soul's value as a part and parcel of Krishna. And for such a person, there's never a a lack of engagement or interest in life because one sees the spiritual essence and knows how to connect it to Krishna. So investing is an active term, investment. And the fact that we're investors means that we have to be astute. We really have to study the science carefully and know where to place our energy for our own personal advancement. And also, we have to be able to see beyond just the physical body. As Prabhupada points out in this verse, the statement by Krishna, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaranyovadam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuyati. You know that verse from David? Very good. That one whose eyes are trained in knowledge sees that just the body's changing from boyhood to youth to old age, and that it changes bodies at the time of death, and a self-realized person is not bewildered by that change. That's very advanced to be able to do that. So, our most valuable asset is our sincerity. Prabhupada points this out many times. So we also have to mine our own hearts to find that sincerity. Because when we have located it, there's a way in which we can use that as an investment. It's the most valuable of commodities, sincerity. And finding even one trace of it in our hearts and gives us a down payment in spiritual life. More than down payment, a huge investment, a huge capital to put into our spiritual life. Those that don't have sincerity, Prabhupada throughout this purport is calling them fools and rascals. They may make so many other investments and put together all kinds of other capital, but it's counterfeit. The only real thing is our sincere desire, intense desire to know Krishna. If we can locate one molecule of that desire, then we move forward in spiritual life very handily. And in fact, Rupa Goswami says that this is the main capital for spiritual life. Krishna ras bhavito mati, Krishna bhakti ras bhavito mati, kriyato yadi kritopi labhyate, tatalolyam api mulyam ekalam janmakoti sukritirna labhyate. He says that in millions of births, investing in all kinds of other activities that aren't sincerely aimed at attaining Krishna is a useless waste of time, and one can't get Krishna, one can't get bhakti, the real essence, the real purpose of life, the real goal of life. But if one has some greed, some lolyam, some intense desire to get Krishna, then that's the capital through which one can purchase Krishna. And then he says, if one has that capital, you should put it on the table right away. Get it in the market. Just like one of the biggest mistakes in investing is just to not invest at all. Because you're going to lose the money anyway because there's inflation, and keeping your money on the sidelines, you have to invest. So he says, if you find that capital, that you have that desire, you should go and if it's available, you find where it's available, you see there it is, go get it right now. Don't wait. Invest right away. Go put all your money on the table and get that bhakti, that advancement. And it's the most valuable thing one can get. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, even if you get a little bit of it, swalpamapya siddharmasya. This is su-alpam, he said. Even get a tiny bit of this bhakti, then you've got something really valuable. Everything else in the material world is insignificant. Nam bina kichunahi ko aro, choda bhuvanamaji. Nothing to see here, nothing else to be had. This is the feeling of a person who's actually ready for bhakti. And Queen Kunti says, person should be materially exhausted. Materially exhausted. What did you have for lunch? So, materially exhausted means I don't see any good in this material world anymore. You know, when Arjuna is on the battlefield and he suddenly sees the whole world's dried up, everything he's worked for, you know, you work hard and you want to go show your parents, look, I got a diploma, look, I've got money, look, I got a new car, all this. And then, you know, his scene now, he's facing his own family members on the battlefield, and he's thinking, who am I going to show it to after I win? This thing, what a useless waste of time. And he feels that the whole world's become barren for him, no longer interested. Then he turns to Krishna and says, so now, please instruct me, what should I do? There's a way in which when we become materially exhausted and we feel like all the investment I've made in the material world is simply a waste, and there's nothing of value for me here. There's material exhaustion. And no more, I'm not trying for it anymore on the material side. No more real impetus. I'll maintain. I'll do what I can in an excellent way, but I'm not putting my optimism, I don't have optimism in my heart for advancing in the material world. I have a sense that whatever's going to come will come of its own accord, and I must do my duty dutifully, but I'm not going to invest in the material world. And one who has that feeling and then can locate one's sincerity for spiritual life and put that investment into the market, into the spiritual market, as soon as possible, then we'll see that will be the best investment one can make. In fact, sometimes, if you get, matching grants and people who back you if you put in your investment, Krishna is ready to back you if you make the investment. You put in a little, Krishna will put in the rest. He's ready to put his capital behind you. If you're ready to enter the market take the full risk of entering this market, the market of bhakti, then Krishna will back you with all his capital. But if you go into the material world and try to make a go of it there, then you're on your own. That's the problem. And nobody can make it ultimately in the material world. It's all for naught. In fact, it's even more suffering if you do well in the material world, because then you lose the whole thing. I was just up in Toronto. The temple is in a downtown area that is one of the most affluent in all of Canada. And I take my walk every day up and down the street, and I see people put so much into their houses. They have these really ornate, opulent houses. They're kind of nice too, not like they build houses nowadays. I hate the houses nowadays. They're really ugly. They're just bogus, stupid houses. I hate them. But these houses, they're made out of stone. They're kind of classy and stuff. And people hire the best architects. And every time I'm there, up and down the street, people are remodeling everything, get it ready. Thinking, how much time do you have here anyway? I mean, it's not going to last. You'll get a phone call, or the doctor's going to say, my sister passed away recently. She was a really nice sister. I really liked her a lot. But, she was a professor of geology. She taught geology at Western Washington University in Bellingham for over 30 years. And she was ready to retire. She was quite a bit older than me. She was 71 when she passed away a few weeks ago. And she had just got the same week that she got her retirement letter and all the benefits that go with that for being a full professor, she also got a letter from her doctor saying that she had pancreatic cancer. Same week, actually, like 1 day difference. And she was talking to me, I was like, oh, this is strange, I just got ready for retirement, and then I got this other letter saying, you got like 3 months left or something like that. And so this is the material world. The investment here is very shaky. And all the sadhus and Krishnas, everyone's saying, don't do it. It's bad investment. Invest over here. And if you just invest a little bit in the spiritual side, it goes so far. And even if you don't have full faith, even if you can't put all your money in at first, even if you put a little bit in, Krishna says, swalpam apyasya dharmasya. Even you start with the smallest little investment, it'll pay off in a big way. And then you can start investing more and more and more. But if you really want to cut to the front of the line, you just, put it all in. Put your full investment. At least invest your full heart in the process of devotional service. So we have to look in ourselves. One thing, we have to find out where that sincerity is, locate it. Before we chant, we should call out to Krishna, please, let me be a full-time investor in this process. And find that and bring it to the process, this full sincerity, or whatever amount we have because of our good association in the past. And then also, invest in the spiritual advancement of others. That is, help them, help others. This is actually the best kind of worship that one can do for Krishna, is one who has this knowledge that the living entity is not the body, is actually a spiritual soul. One who can see this can then do some valuable service. Otherwise, the service misses the mark, keeps missing everything. But if one knows, within the body, I see the spiritual soul, he has certain needs that can't be fulfilled in this world. He can't even touch the soul here in this material world with any of the commodities that are available. And so, if one knows that, one can do the highest good for people by connecting them to the real investment, getting them into a real business. What's it going to take to get you into a real business today, John? We have a real opportunity for you. It's funny, investment companies will call up and they try to get you to put your portfolio with them. They want you to invest with them. That's what we do. We go around, we try to convince people, what's it going to take for us to get your portfolio moved over over here to Bhakti. You're going to get a much higher rate of return on your investment and the benefits. And what else? And zero risk. Actually, in the end, it's all gain and no risk. Material world's all risk and no gain. Is that Ramananda? Ramananda? Was he appreciating? That's nice. Okay. So, this idea of investing, I just really love it in this purport. The idea of the geologists, they see the world differently. When geologists look around, they can see the earth differently than we do. They see there's opportunities. When we train our eyes in knowledge, we'll see the opportunities in bhakti also. Great opportunities. Where to drill down, where to get the real value in life, and so forth. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, so you had a question or a point.
Thanks for...
Or did you want to get your portfolio moved over?
I actually wanted to ask you, Prabhu, to define sincerity, and you said some of it is greed for the holy name?
Yeah, the greed comes naturally if one has ruled out all other possibilities. In other words, if you really believe something's there that's valuable, you start to get excited about it. When you have an idea that there's something in it for you. I mean, as Shukadeva Goswami says in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, that every living entity is actually self-interested. It's just we don't know what our real self is. And so we keep investing in ourself, but the wrong self. The body is also called the self. Atma is defined as body, mind, and spirit, these three things, because the soul is so embedded in the body, it really appears that this is myself. So I invest in a lot in my body, right? People invest a lot in nail polish. It's one of the biggest investments in the world. In fact, if we took all the nail polish and just put it all in one big container, it would be gigantic. I mean, there's a lot of nail polish in the world. Why? Because this body's an investment. I have to take care of my nails. There's a lot of nail salons in the world. And everything else, every street you go on, the most opulent streets, they just redid the Burlingame Avenue. They must have spent millions of dollars putting in this cobblestone and all this fancy stuff. It looks like some, upscale place that you really need to be. And if you analyze what's up and down the street, you'll find out it's clothes and food. The food goes in the stomach. There's a stimulation of the tongue and the gastric system for a little while, and a little ambiance in the restaurant. You could talk to people and kind of feel like, and mostly I hear the conversations if I walk by, they're very superficial. No one's really talking about the same things that the Sanat Kumara and Narayan Rishi and things like that are saying. It's all, who said what and how I looked, and I should have said this, and I was embarrassed, and he's an idiot. And these kinds of things people are discussing, very superficial. Not a lot of heavy things going on in those restaurants. It's not like a place, where you come in a concentrated energy to talk about spiritual life. And clothes, it's actually kind of, in a sense, a little bit, it's ostentatious. The way there's clothing shops, it's to cover the body. But we spend millions and millions of dollars, and half of it gets left in the closet with the tag still on it, at least in affluent societies. I've seen this. People buy shoes and clothes and stuff, and the tags are still on it. And then it gets old. The style changes after a year, so then they give it away. Mostly the Salvation Army. You know what the Salvation Army does? They bundle it up like bundles of hay, and they send it back to the countries where it was made, mostly Bangladesh. And there they sell it back to the people who made it. And there's this constant, changing. Anyway, I'm just saying it's very superficial. So let's see, back to your question. This sincerity, what is it? Actually, the word sincere means sansari, it means without wax. Because previously, when wax was mined from the quarries, the most valuable wax was when the marble was mined from the quarries, the most valuable marble was that didn't have any lines in it. And so unscrupulous people would take marble that did have lines, and they'd chisel out part of it, and then they'd fill it with white wax, so it looked like it was the expensive marble, and they'd sell it for the higher price. And then it would melt later on, and you could see that it was fake. So, sincerity means without wax. We're not trying to embellish who we are, but we accept whatever position we're in now, and we try to make progress from that actual position that we're in without any pretense. No wax.
Thank you.
And when we're focused, and why does that lead? I was getting to the point of why one will have a greed for devotional service. As soon as one understands that there's nothing for me in this world that's actually of value, and sees one's real value in advancement in spiritual life, then just as much as a materialistic person will in a greedy way invest all of his energy in trying to increase his capital, so a devotee will also try to increase his or her spiritual capital with as much vigor or more. Like investors like Mike Milken. I read a book about him a long time ago. He made billions of dollars investing in junk bonds. And Mike Milken? Yeah. So anyway, Mike lived in L.A., and but he had to invest in the stock market in New York, so he had to get up a lot earlier than everybody else. And he was up at 2 a.m, really, going over the paperwork, making the phone calls, getting ready for the day, and it's all for making money. And so people become very dedicated to advancing their cause in the material world. But if one's materially exhausted and realizes there is no cause in the material world that is worth putting that much energy into, one may then stop trying, but if one realizes there's an investment in the spiritual world, you can actually make advancement if you put your investment in spiritual life, and it's permanent. You don't get to keep what you invest in the material world, ever. But in spiritual life, you actually get to keep it, and it's real advancement. It's something you didn't have before, and you can move ahead. And therefore, Narada Muni says, Tasyaiva heto prayateta kobito nalapyate tad pramutab uparyada. Don't invest in the place where you're going to lose it anyway. He said, invest in devotional service and spiritual life, because that's permanent. That you actually get a huge return on your investment, and you can move ahead. So that's exciting, and one can become as greedy, more greedy than the greediest of materialistic people who are trying to advance their cause. You know, a lot of people don't try hard in the material world because they think they can't actually get ahead. But somebody has a little intelligence, and they figured out how to work the system, and they know, they have this sense, I can really do this. They put their whole heart into it, and they really try for it, and you know, to get ahead. So if one is convinced, I can actually make advancement in spiritual life, and sees the means to do it, and understands very clearly that this is all possible, one can become very greedy. And that's why Rupa Goswami said, as soon as you figure that out, go for it. Put as much investment into it as you possibly can. As soon as you figure it out, run to that. He's saying, run, go do it. Put your money down. Since use the capital that you have, this greed for getting devotional service, for advancing to the spiritual world. I mean, there are descriptions of what the spiritual world's like, and what our real identity is in the spiritual world. And when one knows that, I mean, just like if you're wandering, you're lost, you don't really have much impetus to move around very much, because you know that it's wasted movement. But once you actually see your path home, I've had this happen before. I probably told this story. I got lost in Tokyo once. I went for a long walk, and I was, you know, walking along, and I was chanting. I was really happy, and I was thinking, boy, you know, I really like to chant and everything. And then I was following the river, and then when I came back, I didn't know the river split, and there were two rivers. So I was following a river. I figured, how can you go wrong following a river? And on the way back, I was following the wrong river, and I was chanting, and then I was like, this really doesn't look familiar. And I got lost and confused, and then the quality of my chanting changed. Instead of being like, whoa, I love chanting, I was like, Krishna! Because their flight was going to leave, I was late, I had nowhere to call, anything like that. So, and then, you know, I was trying to find my way back, but as soon as I realized where I had made the mistake, and I saw the path back, I saw some familiar surroundings, there was this different surge of energy that I had, which was no longer panic or, you know, searching this way and that. I just was fully confident, and I said, that's it, and go, you know, and a new energy in my step, you know, that I'm going back. I know where I'm going now. Boom. And this is one whose eyes are trained in knowledge and comes to know what is the path back, and actually sees it. I see the road signs, I see it's happening, I believe it, I understand it, I'm seeing it for myself. They have full volition. They use their full volition to go back. And the energy that they put out, it's palpable. They're not wasting any time. They're on the path back to Godhead. They can see it, they can taste it, everything's there. And they know that every second counts. They become greedy. I have to use every second to get this. It's exciting, actually, exhilarating. And the possibilities are endless. It's not like the material world. When you get there, there's this sense that it's not going to be as good as you thought, and you're going to lose it anyway. But in the spiritual life, it's beyond what we can imagine. The returns are beyond what we can imagine. That's why Krishna's name is Vanchātita, because he fulfills one's desires beyond what you can expect or even desire yourself. That's a pretty good investment. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no more investing in the material world. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam bhajagati. He names everything everyone's looking for in the material world and says, I don't want any of that. what did he say? Nadanam, najanam, sundarim, kavitam va, jagadisha kamaye. So Jagadisha, he's talking about the Lord of the universe, everything that's under this creation, that's been under the control of Jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahaitu kitwaye. Just bhakti, it's the real thing that he wants now. Nothing else looks like it. Nothing else has any value. Yes, Vishaka Leela.
You're talking about Mike Milken. So,
Mike, yeah.
Yeah, so this was in the year 2011. Radhanath Maharaj had a chance to meet him in his office in Los Angeles. And there is this Mike Milken conference arranged by their office every year. And during that meeting, Mike Milken told Maharaj that we have all these different bankers and investors who attend that conference. Why don't you come and give a talk to these investors? And Maharaj was very happy to do that, and he was wondering what he could speak about. And Mike Milken suggested you can talk about spiritual investment. And Maharaj gave a early morning session, and he spoke about meditation, and he was talking about the same subject as to he introduced the chanting of the holy names, and then he said that's the real investment that you could make in order to get eternal benefit. And it was well received by the audience.
Nice. Yeah. The other point in this purport that strikes me is that there's a chemical process. Once one identifies where the gold is in the ground, then one has to extract it from the rock. And the Prabhupada mentions a chemical process here. So there's all kinds of ways. In California, we're in the land of the gold rush, 1949. That big gold rush, people heard there was gold in the hills, so they came from all over the world to stake claims, especially up in the Sierra Mountains, that they would mine for gold. Actually, you know who got the richest in all that was the people who sold concessions. Levi Jeans and all the people who had, they were like the 7-Elevens of the world, that were selling to all the miners that were coming in. Very few miners, percentage-wise, actually made a lot of money. But the people who were selling concessions. It's good to keep in mind. But they were mining, for gold in all different kinds of ways to try to get the gold ore out of the ground. And then, over the years, people have become more and more sophisticated about how to extract gold from the ground. Actually, the occupation of Hiranyaksha, gold eye, that's his name. Hiranyaksha means gold eye. There was a movie back in the 60s, it's called Goldfinger. It was a James Bond movie. And it was, obviously like a Hiranyaksha kind of character, only modernized. But Goldfinger, because he was only interested in gold and such. So Hiranyaksha, his eye was for gold, where to find gold. And Prabhupada mentions how they threw the planet off of its normal tilt because of mining so much. Mines nowadays, there's so much wanton destruction of the earth for the sake of extracting all kinds of natural minerals and stuff like that they destroy everything in this path. But this is this was the impetus, all kinds of people just trying to grab as much as they could. But the point is that for devotees, there's also a process for mining that sincerity. And sometimes, because it's so much embedded in amongst all kinds of other stones, anartas and things like that, one has to have a chemical process to extract it. You have to extract it. So one of the things Prabhupada says is the devotee should keep his or her eyes trained to spot offenses. And then he also describes, well, you're so far back there, why don't you all come on up? You can come up closer. Look at all the space up here. Everyone's welcome. It's much better up here. Come on up, take the front row. Just try it as an experiment. See how you like it. Thank you. Yeah, so there is a description of the anartas given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially in the section of the cleaning of the Gudicha temple. And there, Srila Prabhupada quotes his spiritual master in describing various kinds of anartas. So imagine a mining process where you have to take the gold out of the rock, right? So our sincerity, it might be embedded in all these other things. And interesting, in the Brahma Samhita, one of the purports, it's mentioned that if one has mixed devotional service, that means that one has some pure devotional service, because it's pure devotional service mixed with something else. So what you need to do is get rid of the something else. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmanyadavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktirutama. It's a purification process, extraction process. We're trying to get rid of all the other things. Cheto tarpana marjanam. You have to purify the heart of all of these other unwanted impurities to get the real wealth, that sincere purpose to serve Krishna, the bhakti. One uncovers one's real identity, and that is that I'm a servant, I'm a servant, I'm a servant of Krishna. Then one has real impetus and value in life. So one thing is, one should, just like a geologist is trained to see, what's the useless stuff and what's the real thing, and learn how to separate the two. So a devotee has to do that also actively, just like the geologist has to become very active in there's where it is, now it's mixed with this thing, how do I get rid of the impurity? So training one's eyes to spot offenses, that's one thing. Also to recognize the various kinds of anartas. And there are many different varieties of anartas that pop up. I heard something that really inspired me when I was in New Vrindavan. Who was giving the class? It was Rameshwar. He was saying that sometimes devotees feel discouraged because they feel like I have so many anartas, and they're so persistent that no matter how hard I try in bhakti, the old habits keep coming back and so forth. And he said, look it, when you practice something, you develop muscle memory and you get really good at it, right? He said, so how many years, lifetimes, eons, millenniums, eons, has one been practicing sense gratification? Longer than you've been practicing the violin or the ukulele, right? Or the clarinet. What do you all play out there? And so I've practiced for so many lifetimes. Obviously that muscle memory is there. Vasana. There are all these impressions from previous tries at sense gratification that come up. So don't be discouraged. Just know that those are very persistent. But the process of bhakti and extraction is given by the great acharyas. It said, for instance, in the Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami says, here's 6 things that you should do. Here's 6 things that you should never do. Like really good direction. These are scientific. You can take these and line them up and say, okay, I'll practice these 6 things and I'll avoid these other 6 things. That helps the whole process. One thing I realized the other day, I was just thinking about the importance of concentration and how rare it is. This is another rare commodity, and it's something you can practice and get good at, is concentration, focus. It's good in any sphere, but in bhakti it's very powerful. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogina yajeta purusham param. There's this tivrena bhakti. You can have bhakti that's sort of like, okay, I'm kind of into this. But if you become tivrena bhakti, you're like completely focused on what you're doing, then it's very powerful. That focused ray, beam of energy, of a spiritual, endeavor, that becomes very powerful. And so, learning to focus. And I was thinking of it in these terms the other day, that there's so many distractions, and maybe you can't do it all at once, but if you start to build firewalls around your around you so that you're insulated from a lot of the really major distractions in life. Like, for instance, if internet, I think, is a big distraction these days. And there's light, because I notice bugs, they go for the light and they bang against the glass until they die. And that's what happens. You look at the screen of the TV, it's like, or the computer, it's like the eyes, like bugs, boom, boom, boom. So be careful, what you look at. So I was just realizing, if I click on that site, I can lose time. I can lose a second, a minute, 10 minutes, an hour. So wall it off. And try. Just say, that one, there's a wall between this and that. No more going there to that at all. And then you gradually build yourself into a focus area where this is my main focus, and also replace those things that distract your focus with something that is valuable. Like, anytime there's an urge to do something that's time-wasting, replace it with making progress in reading the Bhagavatam, for instance. Something like that. Yes. Trishab.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Prabhu, very nice to hear your points about investment. I think that sound very nice to hear them. And I was just thinking about what you just said about looking at a site and not going for something that can waste time. So what I've seen is that, with me, is that whenever I even give my mind like few minutes, let's say there's a site and I say, probably I'll just take a look at it for 5 minutes and then stop. And the next thing I know, it's already 45 minutes or something. So
right. So there's a powerful realization in ruling that one out. Say, I won't go there at all. And then see, how do I feel now? I feel better, actually. And I'm not, I feel like I have more integrity, I have more time, certainly, and so forth. And so you have to make it an active process to wall yourself off from those things that are major distractions. And don't become addicted to distraction also, because that's something, if you allow your mind, like a little child, if you don't give the child superior engagement and guide him or her, then gradually they become addicted to doing whatever they want, and they can become spoiled in that way. So the mind is a similar way. But it's altogether possible through incremental improvements and making a goal to be focused, to make advancement, to make improvement in that area. And it's very valuable. Even an extra minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes a day gained in a very focused practice of bhakti is a huge investment. It's a huge investment with big returns. What to speak of if you can incrementally get so you're investing your full energy and attention in bhakti all day long, then you'll be completely satisfied and happy and extremely wealthy and valuable. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for enlightening us. We had a couple of weeks ago, we had an experience in Chicago. The focus point of it, His Holiness Bibi Gondaswami Maharaj was here, there in Chicago for a couple of days. And in the temple, he gave very inspiring class along with His Holiness Rampad Maharaj. After that, we had a couple hours of kirtan. And then way he organized is, he told us to repeat and also hear what you chant. So that kirtan, everybody was immersed in kirtan. And so we had so many difficulties, this pain, that pain. That day, the experience was, everybody forgot that they're a body. Everybody felt that was on a different platform and jumped and danced and everything, and then finally said, where are we? I didn't even know, where are we? That kind of experience we had just by hearing the holy name and focusing on what just Maharaj directed us. So then that came to our mind that, this is the way we need to go, because, if we would have heard kirtan, we would have heard anything, but that day, I don't know, Kishore Kishori's mercy and Maharaj's mercy everybody was immersed. And everybody was telling, we can even 24 hours hear this kirtan without eating also. So that was a kind of a focus and experience what we had.
Nice realization. Yeah, it helps if you have, someone who's a big investor and, has that kind of focus and greed, and it tends to pull us along. And definitely the big kirtan experience is transformative. There can be a group recognition that you've, crossed beyond the bodily conception. Even I was reading about Natya Shastra recently and how, because it's foundational in Rupa Goswami's development of the whole process of rasa and how he describes it in the Nectar of Instruction and Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and how the theories of Natya Shastra, which describe drama and how one can achieve a transcendent experience through drama. There's a way in which, either in a tragedy or a comedy or something like that, there are these points at which you actually completely forget your separate identity, and you're identified with the situation, and you also become one with the audience, because all at once the audience is absorbed in the same mood because of you kind of leave your egoistic, self-centered world for a minute, and you experience, according to the theory of this Natya Shastra, it's a transcendent experience, very similar to merging into the absolute. It's like you're not in anxiety and nothing. It's like you're not even your body. You're not even you anymore. You're just part of the crowd. That's part of the reason I actually heard an interesting interview about this years ago about why people like to go to these big soccer matches. They merge in the crowd. They become one with the crowd, and they're all chanting, for their team and everything like that. And they feel this oneness with the crowd, and all their anxieties are left behind, and they become something, they experience something transcendent. So in this kirtan, when you have a leader that you trust who's leading, and you're intrigued by them, and they have this power, and then there's the group chanting together in the holy name, and there's a way that there's liftoff. And one can experience this transcendent, have this real transcendent experience through the holy name, like you just described. Yes, Pitul.
Dandavats, Prabhu. Prabhu, one point you mentioned about sincerity was that if you associated it with being materially exhausted, right? But many times the mind might trick me saying that, hey, you're not so bad after all, you've got a decent job and a decent job and good family. So what are you kidding about? Like, you don't have any reason to be materially pessimistic or exhausted. So how I can silence the mind on this?
Well, I don't know about silencing the mind, but you can definitely reason with your mind, because through taking everything to its ultimate and logical conclusion, you can sort of forecast what's going to happen to you. And this is one of the ways that a jnani, a person who's thoughtful, can deal with lust. You conquer the lower self by the higher self, because lust comes in from the lower self and says, go for it. And then the higher self says, we've done that before and ended up in jail. I was in debt. I lost everything. And, it's like, why should I do that again? And you have to have a way to actually short circuit the lower self who's demanding all kinds of things, and you say, no, I can't do that. And the more you can live in that area where your higher self is fortified, so the whole idea of I'm okay in the material world, I just describe it as sort of an optimism for getting ahead in the material world. There's nothing wrong with living one's life, because you have to eat and breathe, and Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita. A person has to work to survive. So Krishna is not advising that you give up your work. You have to work, but you have to work in such a way that your situation, you're extricated from your entanglement in the material world. So work for yajna and work for adjusting your situation so you can be better off in the material world are two different things. Like if you see a nice neighborhood and you think like, oh, that's me, I really have to move there in order to be happy. This is illusion. Because first of all, you won't be happy moving there. People aren't happy because of having a bigger house or their surroundings necessarily. But if in the course of doing your service and so forth, you have to deal with different kinds of energies, but you're using it for Krishna and yajna, then you'll feel satisfied. And even though you're dealing with those energies, you'll become detached from them. So one thing is take everything to its logical conclusion, that you're going to lose it anyway, so why are you so proud of it? And I mean, haven't you experienced enough times of being proud of something that you had and then realizing that it was just taken away from you? Or that the other shoe drops and then you realize you weren't as well off as you thought you were. It's kind of an illusion. Helen Keller and many other, like she was a philosopher, deaf, dumb, and blind at birth, but she excelled in so many different ways. So there's a quote I like of hers that is about how anyone who thinks that they have security in the material world is in a complete illusion. But of course, that's what Shukadeva Goswami says. These are fallible soldiers that we're taking shelter of. So one should develop a sense of that, that I'm dealing with borrowed time, borrowed energy, and I should use it dutifully. Just as if as I said in the beginning, if somebody gives you money and says, invest this, do the best you can with it, and then, you leave it on the porch and you forgot it and someone steals it, you're not doing your duty very well. So we should invest whatever we get in yajna, and then we'll be satisfied.
Prabhuji, Sudeep Prabhu just has made a point. My humble obeisances, greatly enjoying the talk, like the point of making smaller, consistent improvements and make advancements as you progress, taking smaller steps leading to the point where you can, and then run. So, I had a question also.
Yeah, good. That's a good investment advice anyway. Some of the best investment advice comes from the Bible, and it talks about how you should invest 10% of your gross income in a good investment every month, no matter what. And if you don't have enough to do that, you should either make more or spend less. And over time, you'll become a wealthy person. So in spiritual life, even if you invest a little bit, and Prabhupada says this in regard to the Prachetas, they gave 10,000 years of their life, or 1,000 years in a time when there was 10,000. He said if you make a 10% investment of your life, you can attain success in spiritual life. Yes? More.
Yeah, I think you answered, but I still ask because sometimes even if we are sincere and we want to do the full investment, I'm not sure if it is even possible, because sometimes considering the peers and relatives and all that, I cannot opt out of whatever is considered as success and then go back, and if I don't have that much strength and the sincerity is solidified, it really feels like you'll lose either both materially and spiritually. So how does one make that step and get off the ground and start?
Yeah, by incrementally investing what you can at each part of your life, you'll end up with a good portfolio at the end. There's different times in your life, you'll have different perspectives. When your parents die, both my parents are gone, and now my eldest sister's gone. And I have a different perspective of the world now than I did when they were all alive. And Prabhupada writes about this in his poetry. When he was sitting in Vrindavan, he was moved on. He moved on, and everything else moved on too. That helps. And he was saying, where are my mother, father, all these loving relatives? They're just a list of names now. That's a different perspective than when you're in the middle of the whole thing and they're going, go little Johnny, you're doing great. You got a ribbon and you got a hat from your graduation and everything. You're really smart. And later on, there's a way in which those things tend to sort of vaporize, and if you look at them carefully, you keep your base in your practice of bhakti, as you're moving through all these situations, you'll be in a position to actually do something about it. So, investments are like that. Sometimes you put them in and they sit there for a long time and they're compounding interest, and you look back and go, wow, that 401k is about $1 million now, and I forgot, So our little investments of bhakti over this lifetime really add up. Put them into your 401ks, and do they still have those, or did they all go bust? The bhakti investments never go bust. There's always there. But you may forget that those little investments, but they. Actually, those are some of the best investments. They get on automatic, and they, sort of develop over time. So, we should have a consistent approach to investing in bhakti, no matter what position in life we're at, understanding that we may not be able to withdraw until you're 65 years old, right? You can't withdraw from those IRAs and all that kind of stuff until you're a certain age. So, you may be able to draw on all this investment that you're putting in now. You may not realize it now, but later on, you may have, be able to take out huge amounts of capital and reinvest it in your bhakti. So just keep investing. Be astute and regular. Investors have to have a philosophy. Because people who are not very good investors, what happens is when the market starts going down, they freak out and they jump out of the market and they lose all their money. They buy high and sell low. But smart investors, when everything's going down, they go like buy, 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 because they know it's going to go back up again. They have faith, over time, just relax, it's going to be okay. So, we have to have this consistent philosophy in bhakti. No matter what's happening in my life, I keep buying shares of bhakti. Whatever else is going on in my life, whatever things, I still take my investment and whatever you can afford. It's like, okay, it's only 10% right now. Later, I'll I'll put it all on there. But buy your shares and put them in the account and keep investing in bhakti. Yeah, we got 30 seconds left.
So, Prabhu, one more thing I think, which is like the stock market. I mean that. If you are really in a bad position materially, then it's easy to remember God and invest in bhakti. But when you are in a good situation, then investing in bhakti, I think, has more value, which is like.
That's good. The analogy goes on. It's a good thing that we can develop. This idea of investing and things like that. It really relates, and I loved hearing it in this purport. It really intrigued me, this whole idea of investing. What is investing, and what are we investing? How much can we invest? So think about it, and take a measured approach, a philosophical approach, and keep doing it consistently, and you'll become spiritual millionaires. Hare Krishna. That's not like Joel Osteen. He's more like, you should be happy in this world and stuff. We're not interested in that. Actually, we're interested in only developing our service attitude towards Krishna. And that's real wealth. That's real wealth. Vanchakalpaturvascha kripasindhabevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanande. And now we'll put away all the books and
Vaisesika Prabhu ki
put away all the books and stands, and we'll have an artik ceremony. Hare Krishna.